Steve Jobs has this incredible quote, Aaron, and it's like, you can only connect the dots looking back, right? And
Right.
I like to make Matt's version. You can only connect the dots looking back if you put God in it. And that's
That part.
really what happened to us. And God has been blessing what we're doing. And we feel this big weight of stewardship over the domain pray.com and just love making an impact in the world by reconnecting people with their faith every day.
Greetings. I am Erin Patton, also known as Master L, and welcome to today's episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast. I am just so honored to be here with all of you. You are always tuning in, tapping in, and really showing love and support. And so if you haven't already, I really encourage you to follow me at I am Erin Patton across social media. And then certainly if you find this episode specifically, which will be a very good one, worth sharing, definitely share it with your friends. Also leave us some comments because we want to hear from you. And I have a very special guest joining us today. It is Mr. Matthew Potter, and he is the founder of Pray.com. Welcome to the show today.
Hi, Aaron. How we doing? Good to see you. Honored and blessed to be here.
Honored and blessed is the words. Okay, yes, I'm so happy to have you here. And I'm so interested and eager to learn about your story because we did meet, but it was like so brief. I didn't want to spoil it for myself. So I really want to just know who are you? Like, where you come from? Like, why you do what you do?
You got it. You got it. So for me, it all started with a 15-year-old girl who was walking down the street outside of her hometown. And she was 15 and she was pregnant and she was going to an abortion clinic. And on her way there, she actually ended up seeing a church and she was feeling guilty about what she was about to do. So she stopped in at the church to talk to the pastor about the biggest decision she was going to make in her life up to that point. And the pastor was like a brand new pastor. He was nervous. He didn't know what to tell the girl when she walked in because she's, 15 and he's never met her parents, doesn't know who she is. And so the pastor said, "Hey, wait in the lobby. I'll be right back." And he went in the back and called his friend who planted a 20-person church in Los Angeles. And the pastor in Los Angeles said, "It's Providence that you called me today. My little 20-person church plant, I've been counseling this Christian married couple that's been trying to have children for 10 years and couldn't. Why don't you go back in there and ask the girl if she'd be willing to give her baby up for adoption?" And so I was the baby the girl brought into the church, and I got adopted because of these two pastors that were friends. And my adopted dad became the head elder of this little 20-person church because he got me from the church. So pretty cool. And now
And this was in LA or where was this?
Yeah, it's in Los Angeles. So
Yes,
now
you
that
did
church
it
is
today.
like one of the largest churches in Los Angeles, and it's like 15,000 people go a weekend. And so I grew up in the San Fernando Valley in Granada Hills. If anybody remembers the 1994 earthquake, my house was one block from the epicenter of the earthquake.
Wow.
Which was fun. But you know what? One of the biggest moments of my life, outside of being adopted and getting married to the woman of my dreams, was my sophomore year of high school. I got to meet Steve Jobs at Pixar. My friend's dad got a job at Pixar, and so we went up there to see his new job and office, and I got the unique opportunity to meet Steve Jobs. And my family is really good at sports, everybody except for me, even though I got
I knew you were going to say that.
I've got like the body of an athlete, but I just didn't get the skills. And so I'm like a baby giraffe, Aaron, on the football field or the baseball field. And, but I got to meet Steve, and Steve Jobs is adopted, and I didn't know that. And so, and then I started looking into it, and it's like Jeff Bezos was adopted and Larry Ellison from Oracle was adopted. And so, I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can do that too, or I can try to do that. Right. And so I'll fast forward to my senior year of college. I watched Steve Jobs get up on stage at the Worldwide Developers Conference, and he launches the Apple App Store. And I called my mom and dad and I said, I'm dropping out of school. I'm going to do something in apps. I don't know what it is, but it's going to be the next internet. It's going to be big. So I dropped out of college and I started a company with my high school roommate, or my college roommate. And we started a company called Homestack, and we decided, hey, real estate companies are going to want their own apps, but they don't have tech teams to build them. And Zillow's out, and Zillow's, competing with all the real estate companies. So we can build a product that helps people search for homes. And so we did. And so we built over 8,000 apps in the App Store for all the major real estate companies in the United States. Wow. So Coldwell Banker, Century 21, Sotheby's, Engel and Volkers, Keller Williams, many, many more. It was super fun. If you watch Selling Sunset, that we created them an app as well at their real estate company.
I love that.
So, yeah, it's a guilty pleasure, right? You
want to watch totally. Oh my God.
Yeah. So did that, and I did that. It was a grind. I had no money. We started with nothing. I went and got a bunch of credit cards and racked up a bunch of debt to start the company.
Yeah.
We were literally selling, if anybody knows what Kickstarter is, where you can buy something before it comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were like manual Kickstarter, Aaron. We would go real estate company to real estate company, and we said, this is the product we're going to build in a year from now. Do you want to pre-order it? And we sold it to them on paper, an app on paper. And we did that for like a year, and we finally launched our product on time, thank God. And yeah, it was super fun. So I did that for 10 years. The company did really well. And 10 years in, I was just kind of feeling like I lost my purpose. I reached this weird point in my life where I didn't have to work. Everything was getting automated. We had everything going. Customers were happy. We were growing. And I was just trying to figure out, how can I fulfill that purpose in my life?
Oh, yeah,
so I called my pastor's daughter, who's my best friend, Kayla, and I said, Kayla, what does the church need? How can I help? And she said, we've got new campuses we're launching. Why don't you help me be a campus pastor? And I said, Kayla, that's like a terrible idea. I am an introverted tech entrepreneur who didn't go to seminary. That sounds terrifying. And she said, just pray about it. Well, I prayed about it. And the next day I ran into my co-founder, Steve, and Steve's also got an incredible story. But I ran into Steve, and he told me that his business partner died in a plane crash. He had just become a Christian because of a Navy SEAL who gave him an audio sermon from a pastor. And he wanted to build the digital destination for Christians online. That we had ESPN, the digital destination for sports, with all the sports, but we didn't have the digital destination for Christians online for any denomination, and you could get content for any issue or problem, or learning more about the Bible, or hear the Bible come to life. And I just thought that was so cool. And I'm sitting there listening to him, and I go, wait a minute. I just talked to my pastor and my pastor's daughter the night before on how I could help and give back. And this is God giving me that opportunity, literally gift wrapped the Providence meeting for me. So I stepped down as CEO of my company the next day. I took a chairman of the board position, and I jumped in with Steve to start Pray.com because I just felt like God was giving me this opportunity to make a massive world impact and the opportunity to merge my passion with my skill. Yeah. And so I jumped in with both feet, and we started Pray.com in 2016. So it's been 9 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, we have 25 million downloads of the app.
Wow.
We have 168 million shares of the app on other platforms. So someone going in and texting it to a family member or friend. And then we just crossed 3 billion listening minutes of content. And for the math nerds out there, it's like 1,700 years of listening and watching content. And yeah, it's been absolutely remarkable. And Steve Jobs has this incredible quote, Aaron, and it's like, you can only connect the dots looking back, right? And
Right.
I like to make Matt's version because he also had another quote where, basically, steal ideas, right? So I'm stealing his idea. And you can only connect the dots looking back if you put God in it. And that's really what happened to us. And God has been blessing what we're doing. And we feel this big weight of stewardship over the domain pray.com and just love making an impact in the world by reconnecting people with their faith every day. And so it's been super fun.
I love this story so much because, okay, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your truth. And thank you for lifting up God in all that you do. And what really just resonated with me, like I was just like to go point by point, was like you looked at Steve Jobs, you looked up at Jeff Bezos, and you were like, I can do that. And I remember thinking in my mind, do what? And for most people, they'd be like, oh, build like a successful tech company. And yes, and I would say yes, and for you, because it's like, yes, you built the successful tech company and you also were able to move forward in creating something that was aligned to your highest purpose, that was deeply more aligned with your fulfillment. And I don't know Steve Jobs and I don't know Jeff Bezos personally, but I could venture to say that based on their like stories, from other people, what they were doing was not to align with necessarily purpose, because look where Steve Jobs is today, and the impact that he had on people's lives. A lot of people probably wouldn't have very positive things to say.
Totally.
And so to hear you be inspired by people who did the best that they could, let's just put it that way, and for you to take it to the next level and be like, okay, I'm going to do this tech thing. I'm going to grow this stuff really fast. And I'm going to do all the things that the guys are doing. And I'm going to do it in alignment with my purpose with God. That's what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. You nailed it. Man, you put it so well. I couldn't. I'm glad you articulated it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, so I just had to acknowledge that and lift that up, because that's the business that I'm in, and the business of the work that I do with women entrepreneurs specifically, because a lot of women are doing really well, and I see this even in my niece, and she don't really listen to my show anyway, but like I could talk about her. But she's so young. She's so successful. She's just bought her first house. She has a young son, and she's like doing everything right. And there are parts of her life that aren't quite perfect yet, but it's just like when you start to move in your purpose and move in alignment, you start to check all those boxes. But the highest point of it is when you start to align with God, when it really starts to fall into place. And generally, at least for me, it took, and it's still taking very traumatic and challenging events to do that. And one thing I might have missed in your story were some of maybe those hurdles or those challenges or those roadblocks that tested your faith, that made you, I'm sure you had them Jesus on a cross moments, like, why have you forsaken me? You know what I'm saying? Like, we all have those moments, and I really would love to dig into that, because I know that's really helpful for our women entrepreneurs out there, maybe especially ones that are in the tech space, to get past those moments where, for example, like they don't have the finances, they don't have the network, or something is super challenging that's bringing them down. I'd love to hear that from you.
Yeah, no problem. And you hit on something that's, really on my heart a lot. And it's like, you're in those challenges, you're reconnecting with God, right? In those moments. And so I know that people wouldn't put prayer and science together, which is why I love that. And we're putting prayer and science together. So we actually have a whole science research team that does clinical trials on the app, proving the science of prayer and how it helps people through those challenges in life. And also, it's not about it's actually not about like spending an hour on your knees praying every day. Like it's just about the frequency. It could be a minute, could be 2 minutes. You can set your alarm. And when you do that, we see a massive reduction in mental health symptoms and people being able to sleep better and lower their anxiety and their stress. And when you lower your anxiety and your stress, you actually can work better, because being an entrepreneur, also being a female entrepreneur, there's a ton of anxiety and stress, and you lose sleep, and it really makes things even more challenging than they should be already, right?
Right.
And so, for the people that are listening that are entrepreneurs, something that helped, that hurt me, was I would look online and on the news, and I would hear overnight success stories from everybody. And it's like, and then you get into comparison mode, right? It's like, why is this so hard for me? Well, this person was an overnight success. That person was an overnight success. And what you end up learning is it wasn't an overnight success, but that's the headline. That headline sells ads for that newspaper or that online magazine or that, blog, right? So things are not overnight success. They take years and years of hard work and grinding it out. So if you're in the middle of grinding it out right now, I feel you. I've been there. I've done that. I've had those Jesus on the cross moments many times, and it's super tough. My first company, Aaron, I didn't know how we were going to make payroll for like 3 years. I had to literally, I cut my own pay, and I was the lowest paid person in the company, by the way. And I had to cut my own pay all the way down just to get the business to work. My dad had the same thing. As an entrepreneur, this is what happens, right? His co-founder embezzled all the money out of the company, and then we had a giant earthquake, and my dad's in the real estate business. So that was like the toughest thing. He had to mortgage our house to pay the employees to keep the company open. So let's be real. Let's not glorify entrepreneurship, but say that it is a drive inside that you have, and that it is something that's very tough, that not a lot of people understand, and it's very lonely.
Yes.
But it is the most fulfilling thing that you can do. Like it brings me such great joy to impact 7 million lives every single day and bring them closer to their creator. It just brings me so much joy to help people with their mental and spiritual health. And if you have a product out there or a service that you're trying to get started, you have to love it to make it work. The money is never good enough, right? It's not. You actually have to just love what you're doing and have such a big passion. So, when you're in those moments of despair, and I've heard someone, I can't take credit for this, but someone told me this one time, and I said, this is just so spot on. And it was, the lows are always super low and the highs are never high enough in entrepreneurship. And so where you end up getting to is the lows are a state of mind. The highs are a state of mind. And the best entrepreneurs are even keel. Like, it doesn't matter. And I think there's a Navy SEAL out there. He's amazing. His name's Jocko Willink. And when problems come, good. When things are great, good. When you can't make payroll, good. I'm going to get better. I'm going to do better. And that's what entrepreneurs do. They figure it out. They innovate through the problems. So that's the message I would have for people today. If you're lonely, if you're depressed, if you got a lawsuit, if you've got, if you can't make payroll, if you can't figure out your ads business, if you can't, sell that service or whatever it is, I've been there. Erin's been there. The other people she's had on her podcast have been there. And you just have to keep fighting through and innovating through that problem, and you'll figure it out. If you spend the attention and focus and discipline to what you love, which is your business, you
That
will
part.
figure it out. You will figure it out. And it's
I
hard.
love that. Oh my God. Okay. So many gems in there. And the first thing I want to again acknowledge is your prayer and science. Because this is the Meta Business Millennial inspired by metaphysics, which essentially is spiritual science. And
Yeah.
I am so grateful that the Christian community is embracing the evidence around meditation, around prayer, around
Yep.
spirit, because for
Yes.
so long it has been this unfortunate separation of church and state, if you will, and you can't
Boy.
separate that which is already in everything and
No.
in everybody. You can't separate it. And
No.
so to for us to have been conditioned and programmed in that mind it is what it is. Yet as the leaders that we are today, we are taking back our power to
Yeah.
reframe and reteach that which is truth. And I'm
Yes.
so grateful that you're utilizing your platform and doing so in a way that is honoring our faith and also honoring truth. So thank you for
Yes.
that.
Oh, thanks for saying that. I mean, it's logical, right? Like, if you believe God created everything in the universe, right? He created all the rules that science is, right? The laws,
Literally.
the theories. So, okay, if you believe in God, the natural next step is like, okay, God is omnipotent, He's omniscient, and He's omnipresent.
Yes.
So if God is in all things and He created all the rules of the universe, therefore, do you think it would affect your physical body to connect and have a personal relationship with your Lord and Savior? Yes. And now can we prove it? Yes. Right?
Yes.
Like by giving your problems up to a higher power, there's all these studies done that we haven't done on prayer, like increasing gray matter density in your brain and all the studies
I've
they've
seen
done
that.
with fMRI. I mean, even if you just go to our clinical trials, which is pray.com/science, you can see them in a few published scientific journals just on the frequency of prayer through a digital therapeutic. And it helps. It helps people so much.
Yes.
But it's wild that what you've said, we've been conditioned to separate prayer and science. And it's like, no, 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 no. We can measure it. There's just different ways to measure it, and we can show its effects and how it affects our physical bodies and our mental and spiritual health. It's really,
Yes.
really cool to see, with
Yes.
empirical data and evidence, what science can do. And yeah, it's been amazing. And I'm not sure why, we've had this, separation of, of church and science, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we've got
I
to
mean,
take it back.
there's lots of theories out there of the whys, but we won't get into all that today.
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no.
But certainly, I just wanted to acknowledge that piece because there's so much of Christianity that people are, and so much of what I do in terms of metaphysics, that people who grew up Christian have sometimes fear, hesitation around embracing because they
Yeah.
feel like they have to give up something in their Christian faith to accept something that's science-based or evidence-based. And I love to share that you don't have to, you can have both. I mean, even in Romans, you talk about the renewing of the mind. And so what does the renewing of the mind look like? It looks like, frequency attunement or frequency raising, and gray matter development. So I'm certainly really so excited about, the pairing of scripture and the Christianity and the science in a new and acceptable way. So that's really beautiful. And then I really wanted to just second all that you were saying in terms of, and thank you too for the vulnerable sharing of your trials and that of your father, the embezzling, the betrayal, the lawsuits, like you said, I done been through it. My guests
Yeah,
have been through it. And
totally.
and to be able to persevere, to be
Yeah,
resilient in the face of the attacks, if you will, because
yeah,
it's nothing more than that. We always talk about this is, not just, a walk of the flesh. This is a walk of principalities, of spirit, of God's truth. And so we have to understand too that in these walks, in our purposeful walks, there will be, some battles that we have to fight, and they're going to come in the form of whatever our purpose is. For me right now, it's legal stuff. And it's painful, and it's generational because my parents dealt with it, my family's dealt with it, and it's something that I came here to master, and I resisted for years, and now I'm having to accept this is my path and do so and treat it as sacred work. And I think that's really what I see in you and see in your dad's walk too, is that you really started to see your work as sacred, and that's why you persevered. That's why you took the cuts. That's why you didn't pay yourself and paid other people ahead of you. That is when you know that you're walking in your truth and your purpose, and the work you're doing is sacred. So I love that too.
Thank you. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome. And so, okay. Now that we've talked about this and you've had pray.com and it's been 9 years, I mean, what's like your vision for the pray.com? Because I'm just eager to know, because you did the other one for 10 years. Like, are you don't say you about to quit on us. Like, there has to be something more. Like, I just feel like I want to know.
This is a lifelong mission and journey for me.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a lifelong mission and journey, and I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to help people. We just launched our AI counselor tool, which is really cool. And it's piggybacking on a lot of the clinical trials that we've done. And now we're training it on a lot of pastors' content, and the pastors and the content is hand chosen by us. And we're, integrating it into the app. So it's really cool because, there's not enough counselors out there. There's not enough pastors. Do you know how many pastors are in the United States? Like, it's an app, it's about like approximate 88,000 pastors in the United States. There's
Do you include priests in that, or just pastors?
No, that includes priests. Yeah. Wow. There's 350,000 churches. So you got pastors that are over several different churches. You also have pastors that, like, I think it's like 20 to 40% are bivocational. So they're your local electrician or plumber or construction worker and pastor on the weekends. And so
what percentage of our bivocational?
I think it's 20 to 40%. I know the figures changed. So it's a large percentage, because the average church is around 100 people. So they can't afford to pay a salary of a pastor to be full-time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now you got your local church pastor who's bivocational, and he's doing weddings, funerals, going and visiting your mom and dad in the hospital, or you in the hospital, or, it's a round the clock job that never stops. And so we need technology to help scale the ministry, right? And so we need that. And that's really big on our heart. So how can we help people 24/7, 365? And that's where we come in with our AI counselor tool that we built into the app that you can talk to. And, and it's already starting to help people. It's in beta in pray.com right now. And it's been really amazing just to see people getting helped, like the testimonials from people that use it getting help. It's just been so cool. And
oh my God, I love this so much, because I can't tell you how often I've used ChatGPT to write out prayers and write out meditations and journal prompts and things for me. So I would love to learn more. So is your AI tool, it's native? So this is something that you've built in-house? And if so, like, why is that important to you versus just like piggybacking off of like a ChatGPT or something like that?
Yeah, it's really important because it's trained on biblically accurate content from some of the best pastors from around the United States, as well as other ministries that work in the mental and spiritual health space, and trained on their content. So it's going to be, I can't say with a data-backed figure it's better than ChatGPT, but I can say that the content you're going to get back is biblically accurate from some of the best leaders from around the United States that lead some of the biggest churches. And so also some of the best like Christian mental health organizations like Hope for the Heart with June Hunt. She's been amazing on radio in the middle of the night, helping people who wanted to commit suicide or were dealing with problems in their lives. And she's had, all these different therapists and people put together a lot of content. We're training it on all of that content. So it's going to be really empathetic, as if you were talking to your pastor, right? Which is so cool. And so,
cool.
Hey, if you're hurting and you're using ChatGPT, just go wherever gets you the most help, right? Like
right.
I'm not saying ChatGPT is better, pray.com counselor's better, but I'll tell you, it is trained on all that good Bible-based content. And, the Bible, besides being the holy Bible written by God, is, the framework for having the best life. And it's proven by like 3,000 years of people following it, right? So, it would make sense to use that as a counseling tool.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I'm just curious because I do metaphysics and I do a lot of ancient wisdom stuff too. Like, do you bring in sort of like ancient biblical texts, Hebrew texts? Since you have this AI tool, it can translate Greek things. Like I remember when I was, doing my Christian walk first, specifically, I went to this church, the Bethel Church in Redding, California, and we would do like these sozo healing sessions, which was based off the 7 different ways that Jesus did healings, but because of the English translation, heal was only the one sole word. And so I'm just wondering, like, do y'all bring in sort of ancient texts into some of this AI tooling, or even on your site? I'm very curious.
Yeah, we don't bring in the ancient text besides the Bible. So we go with things that we know we can prove. So if we bring in a text like a book from a pastor that they've given us permission to use to help people, we want to make sure that we're providing people programmatic content that helps based on some of the clinical trials that we've done. So if we expand our clinical trials, maybe I'll leave it open, but right now it's the Bible or different books that some of the pastors within pray.com have done, or some of the mental health content that some of these other church organizations have done. Because the goal is not necessarily to educate from ancient spiritual texts, but to help people in that moment, because they're in that moment of need, right? And I'm not against ancient spiritual texts, just to be clear, but the people that call in, or the people they used to call in, people that called in, they're in. I talked to this woman who was on our customer support line. She was in the chemo chair. She was getting chemo for 4 hours.
I see.
She had nobody to talk to. She was the last surviving member of her family, and she was dealing with her second bout of stage 4 cancer.
Wow.
And we introduced a bug into the app, and she couldn't log in. And she was mad at me, right? And I was talking to her on the phone. I was just like, we'll give you that for free, whatever you need. We really took care of her. And I got the incredible opportunity to meet her, which just wrecked me. I'm not a crier, but I cried. And it's people like that. They're looking to get help. And, you can't necessarily, a pastor can't text with their entire congregation every time something's happening. And so it's really to help people who are in that moment of need, and they need that biblical wisdom, that counseling, that coaching in that moment. And so that's really what the tool is built for. Now, we may put ancient texts in the app that people can listen to or read, but the counselor is built on the Bible and all the information that I mentioned earlier.
Yes. Okay. That's very clear and very cool, because like you said, it's really based on the urgent need for counsel, the urgent need for support in lieu of a human being there. And that makes perfect sense. It's less about the education and the teaching, and more about the companionship, the love, the support, that offer. So that makes perfect sense. But yeah, that would be really cool, because I always said that I wanted to read like the Hebrew version or the Greek version of the Bible and all these
Yeah.
ancient, like these texts. But it's like
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have the time right now. Maybe another stage in my life, but I just can imagine like something like your technology could really support people in accessing, versions of the
Totally.
Bible beyond. And so that just sounds really cool.
Totally. And it's
Yeah.
not meant to replace humans, right? Like
Yeah. Of
it's
course.
meant to
Yeah.
be there when a human can't be there, or you can't
Exactly.
get to a human, right? And
Exactly.
it's just filling the gap in the moment. Highly
Yeah.
recommend, you know, seeing a clinician, a therapist, or someone when you do really need help. But in that stopgap moment where you need a counselor or coach that can be AI driven, that's where it falls into place. So
Yeah, that's really cool. And yeah, so now that you kind of mapped out a vision for pray.com, I'm really interested if there's something like specifically that you guys offer now that you would love to encourage people to engage with on your site. I remember you, especially women entrepreneurs. I remember when we talked, you mentioned there was some crazy percentage of women that use your site. I would love for you to
yeah.
speak specifically like to women entrepreneurs, things that are, opportunities that pray.com could support them with like right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're a woman entrepreneur and you're dealing with something right now, my wife also loves this. She's an entrepreneur. And that's a whole nother thing, but it's fun because she came to me and she said, like, when we were dating, she's like, I don't know if you're going to like me. I just broke up with a guy and he didn't like me because I am a strong woman. And I said, I love that about you. I was like, I love that. I was like, I want to walk beside you, not ahead of you or behind you.
I love
And
that.
my wife's an entrepreneur and she also loves our meditations. So our biblical meditation content inside of pray.com is amazing. And that is some of the content we've done clinical trials on too. And so
Nice.
it really helps. The important thing to think about though is giving your problems up to a higher power to God. So when you meditate, it's meditating with intention, with Christian meditation, with intention to give that problem to God, because we've seen in other places, there is meditation to focus on the problem. And when you focus on the problem, it can cause rumination. And you don't want rumination where you're spiraling on the issue. You want to give it up to God. And our meditative content can help with that. There's lots of different felt need topics around it, like stress and anxiety within pray.com that I would highly recommend. Look, you're an entrepreneur. I've been there. I'm in it. I live it. It's stressful. There's a lot of stuff. They say, a lot of people say they don't want to work for somebody, so they become an entrepreneur, but really you work for everybody in the company when you're an entrepreneur. And so you can get pulled in a million directions, let alone having to turn it off when you come home to your family or friends. And having to be there for everyone too. It can be overwhelming. And so I would highly recommend our meditations. So if you, just for listening to this podcast, right? I want to be able to give something to everybody. Our app has a monthly subscription. Okay. And so you subscribe monthly to the app, but if you're listening today, I'm going to give it to you for free. So listen in. It's go to pray.com/Matt, M-A-T-T, super simple, my name, pray.com/Matt. And if you sign up there, you can download the app. You'll get everything for free. So check it out. Just for listening. Look, I understand. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been there. I'm in it. Sometimes I have bad days. Sometimes I have good days. I'm not perfect. And I know how it is being alone and having to charge the hill alone. So I get it.
Oh, what a beautiful offering, guys. If you didn't get that, pray.com/Matt, right?
MATT. You got it.
MATT, and I'm definitely going to download it, take my offer on that, and tap into some of those meditations because that's a beautiful offering for women entrepreneurs. And I can't, emphasize this enough on my show around taking time for self, taking time to connect back to God. Very simply, like you said, giving those problems, imagining yourself handing those problems over to God is such a beautiful meditation. I've used to do those all the time, and it's just what we need in this day and time to really anchor into our purpose as well. I really feel like when we are living in that problem, it's really hard to create solutions, like to your point. And for us to be in a society where a lot of us feel like so much is going wrong, instead of focusing on the wrongs, we have to focus on what can we do right to get this shit right. You know what I'm saying? And that's really kind of like how I move. And what I really encourage on this show is how we can move more into this space of righteousness, of aligning to higher purpose, of walking with God, walking in our highest truth, speaking out our truth. And that really comes in that daily self-reflection, that daily sitting with self, that daily sitting with God. And pray.com is a beautiful opportunity to do just that. And we're coming up on time, but I really want to give you, one last moment, Matt, to just like share something that's on your heart for our audience, or just something that's just really come up for you in this conversation. I just wanted to give you that space.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast. And I feel so honored and blessed to be here. And if you're an entrepreneur and it's going great, I'm so excited and happy for you. If you're an entrepreneur and it's tough, I get it. I've been there. And if you need help, reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not on any social media but LinkedIn. So would love to help you if I can. That's, I find so much purpose and joy by helping other entrepreneurs. So would love to do that, and focus on your mindset. Stay disciplined. You're going to do great. We're here for you. So.
Amazing. And for all of you that tune into the Meta Business Millennial, I want to thank you so much for being here, especially if you made it to the end of the show. And if you haven't already, as I mentioned before, you can find me across social media at I am Erin Patton. And of course, I have more resources at my website, erinpatton.com. Again, thank you so much, Matt, for being here. You're fantastic. And
thanks
for all of you, yes, you're welcome. And to all of our listeners and our guests, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on our next episode. Much love and light. Peace. Did you really love this episode of the Meta Business Millennial Podcast? Well, I am honored, and I appreciate you subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with your friends, because your feedback allows us to co-create more enlightened conversations. And if you're interested in growing your soul now, head over to my website, erinpatton.com, to find all the show notes, links, and free resources to get your energy activated today. In the meantime, stay bright, my friends. Much love and light. Peace.